There were two public meetings last night, the government's so-called big debate and an alternative meeting organised by backbenchers. I'm with one of them now. Alf Cannan, you had double the number of people at your meeting. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think a lot of people have been disenfranchised with the way that this big debate has begun in terms of a select number of people from the island being invited. And just basically a lack of knowledge effectively of what the debate is all about. We had a very positive turnout at the open debate. A lot of people came to express their views about how disenfranchised they felt, how they felt they were not being represented properly in Tynwald, how the Council of Ministers was operating more as an autocracy rather than a democracy. And that how we need, some transparency back in government, some accountability, some trust in government in terms of what it's delivering.
So why did you organise your meeting on the same night?
Well, be clear, I was invited to the meeting. There were a lot of people behind the scenes organising it, but I was happy to support it on the same night. I mean, this is a democracy we're operating in. When you have a debate, surely you have alternative opinions, and we need to hear those opinions, and that's why I was delighted last night at the wide variety of people who attended. I was pleased to see full representation from the unions who were there, obviously representing a significant number of workers and people in the private sector. Not that I agree with everything they say, but the important thing is when you're engaged in debate, you've got to have opinions, expressions of opinions, and to be able to hear what other people have to say, and that's a key part of it. So overall, really pleased with the way that it went.
What do you think about the turnout at the big debate?
Well, I understand there was 60 odd people there. I think what concerns me slightly is that really we don't understand what this big debate is about. It seems to us that, and to me, that we're being led down a road of this enabling state concept, which is in Scotland, where effectively the basis behind it is you get rid of all the legal entities existing in the state, create a single legal entity, and effectively the state tells you what services you need rather than you telling the state what services. So a lot of obviously civil rights and activists very concerned about this. It's concerning for me. But we're not being really told the clear truth. And when you eventually, I mean, the questions that were asked last night have been published by the Positive Action Group on their website, which is unfortunate because I think that the government should be publishing all the questions, all the answers. And indeed, we would like to see the video they've prepared. That should be online as well, so that the public can actually make a proper judgment. But I have to say, when you see questions like, do you think the welfare state should protect the vulnerable, then I begin to feel actually that really the government does need a debate, because clearly it has a lack of vision here, a lack of idea. And really, we're politicians, we're supposed to be delivering policies that are open, that people are transparent, that are debated and improved in a democratic way on the floor of Tynwald, and obviously put out to the appropriate consultation. But I think that really what the big debate organisers really do is to perhaps sit down with their fellow MHKs now and start thrashing out some proper policies, because when you get questions like, as I said, do you think the welfare state should protect the vulnerable, then really we're getting to a stage, in my view, where government's clearly lost. And one of the things that came out last night was this transparency issue. Now, we keep hearing that the budget's about to be rebalanced. A lot of people in the audience last night don't believe that. In fact, one chap had done his homework and said the government's figures, sort of liability figures in terms of the difference between what we're spending and getting in, it could be as much as 172 million. Now, I don't know where he gets that figure from, but in my view, we're at least 60 to 70 million pounds away from where we need to be. Yet the Treasury Minister, the Chief Minister, Minister Robert Shaw, keeps saying we're balancing the books, but we're rebalancing next year. But to the public, that means we've rebalanced. But it's not, to me, that's misleading. We need to be honest and transparent with the electorate about the size of the problem, and then we can start setting about dealing with it.
So there should be a big debate, there needs to be a big debate, but perhaps not in the format that the government's come up with.
Well, I think if we've got to that stage, and sometimes it's hard to get the full facts from government, But certainly, yes. I mean, it would seem to me that we do need a proper debate about how services are being delivered and in the way that they're being delivered. But to do that, somebody's really got to be, politicians have got to be firm and decisive about what they see as the way forward, in order to get out there with a set of policies and leadership that the public have put us in to do. Really, that's what we're here to do: is to lead, not only lead but represent our constituents' views, and then take those policies forward into a proper debate. But what you can't do is give people a set of hypothetical theories which all sound nice on paper, get them to press a button and then come up and say, well, this is the policy because you've told us that that's the way that you want to go. So just go back to that example I was talking about. Do you think the welfare state should protect the vulnerable? Well, yes. But what cost? I mean, we're going to have to pay, tax rises to pay for that, or, who are the vulnerable? We're going to define that a bit more. How's that going to impact on areas like social housing? How's it going to impact on areas like healthcare, elderly care? These are big issues, deep issues, and of course require a lot of thought and clear thinking. But, to me, really, a lot of this should already have been done. I mean, we're into a fourth year of a government. In 2 years' time, the mood of the population, in my view, half of us might not be here to carry this on, and you get a lot of people in with fresh views and fresh thinkings. And when a government sets out at the beginning, then it has to be clear about its policy priorities, its policy objectives, and it has to set out a programme of delivery. And I think that really, on reflection, we've failed to do that in the last 3 years, and we're trying to make amends now, but maybe it's a bit too little too late.
Too little too late.